Greetings from the far corners of the internet. This is Colette and Matt have entered the chat, a weekly conversation about video games. And I just got to say right off the top, breaking news. It's 2025.
Holy shit, I didn't know.
It's the future.
It's funny how every time the year turns over, like to me, I don't know how you are about this, but like I'm always like 2025, that sounds so modern and weird.
So
and then
weird
you just
futuristic.
You just live your way into it, and then one day you're like, yeah, it's normal.
Yeah, 100%. And it's weird, I don't like it.
You're like, I don't like it so much. It's not
the future was supposed to be cool. And you know what? It is. It is.
It's cool. I mean, no question it's cool. Also terrifying and, all that stuff. But, cool.
Yeah. Yep. How is your new year going? 2 days in, 3 days in by the time this publishes? How, have you achieved all your resolutions yet?
Well, first, I don't make resolutions because I don't believe in them, which is probably something I could talk about a lot on this show. But I feel like I probably already talked about it and just forgot. So I'm just going to skip it.
Mm-hmm.
But I have been off of work now since, I want to say maybe like the 20th.
Oh, that's great.
I don't know what time is anymore at all.
No, it's totally gone.
I go back on the 6th, and like this happens every single year. Like I usually I'll get like roughly a week off, give or take a day, and then I'll just take the extra days off, like Christmas week.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll take the next week off. So I have
is this
my
vacation? Did you take PTO vacation, or did your company give you a chunk of time to take?
Well, no,
because that's a lot of time to take.
It's a lot of time to take. No, I mean the way it works is that Christmas Eve and Christmas Day are holidays, and then New Year's Eve and New Year's Day are holidays. So you're already out.
If the eves are holidays, that's very nice. That's a
right. So
nice,
it's
policy.
Big chunks of the week already. So what I did was I took the 23rd, the 26th, the 27th, the 30th, the 2nd, the 3rd. So that gave me my 2 weeks basically. But I mean, it's not 14 straight days of PTO. No.
Yeah, which is good.
I do it every year.
For listeners who are not in the U.S., for our European listeners,
good call.
This we know that you get a year off for Christmas every year, but here in the States, we only get the day.
Yes, that is all we get. But anyway, so yeah, every year I do this. If I can at a job, and most jobs, all jobs really, the last 7 or 8 years have allowed this or given those days off. And like week 1 is like great and it's chill and there's still holiday stuff. And then like after the holidays pass, I just don't know what time is anymore. Yeah. I don't know why I work. I mean, I do know why I work, for money, but like that's literally the only reason I work. Like, I'm like, this is so nice to have a life where you literally just get up and do whatever you want and enjoy the day. And you get to read a lot of books and you get to do a lot of things around your house, or you get to go out and see people. And I'm like, why do I work? And then when I go back on the 6th, I know I'm going to be like, I don't remember how to do my job.
Correct.
And it'll take me like a full week to remember how to do that. Like, it's somehow nice and disorienting at the same time.
Yep. I wonder, it sounds like you're having an excellent time. We took a similar amount of time off. My wife took off from her job, and my job is weird. So I can do whatever I want, but also, got to make sure the trains stay on the tracks, et cetera. But, so we did very similar to what you did, but I started to realize post Christmas that like, I'm starting to get very anxious, I'm starting to feel anxious and antsy and feeling like I got to do something, like I need to catch up or start, just like getting back on track with things. And then the other factor that really struck me subconsciously, I didn't realize it. And then my wife and I were talking about it, and she kind of pointed it out, which was like, we saw family, we had a beautiful Christmas, and we had a great New Year's Eve last 2 nights ago. But the in-between time was very, very much stay at home, stay in the pajamas. Everyone's watching movies. Everyone's playing video games. Like, we're just having the coziest family time, which was so, so nice until it kind of wasn't for me. And my wife was like, yeah, this feels like COVID. This feels like we are stuck in the house. The weather has been actually pretty decent, but then it's been rainy. So we're like cooped up in the house with the kids. The kids are bored, like staring at screens, and we are bored because we're just finding things to fill the time, and we're not working because we're off. And we're in like multiple days in the row of that, and we're like, oh my God, this is exactly what COVID was like. And suddenly, I'm like, no wonder I'm feeling so fucking anxious all of a sudden, It was very eye-opening to me. And again, it's not a complaint. We really had some great decompression and family time. It has been a wonderful break, but I am ready to get back to real life.
No, I get it.
Hard.
I get it. And I've never realized that I've never made that connection. But I think also I'm just such a hardcore homebody that maybe, I don't know, maybe that.
As am I. And I've always been, but it's too much these days.
Too much.
Yeah.
I get it.
So yeah, that we just found that interesting. And yeah, it's a nice sunny day today. It's cold, and I have a couple of podcasts to do, and then hopefully maybe getting out in the world. Let's see.
Yeah.
Let's try to do it.
It's pretty here too. And I think it's also pretty cold, but it would be a nice day to get outside. Also, I just need to announce quickly, just briefly, that we have not had a garbage pickup in my neighborhood in 2 weeks because they don't come on Christmas, and then apparently they don't come on New Year. And I'm sitting at my desk, which faces the front of my house, and I just saw the garbage truck pull into our neighborhood, and I literally almost squealed like a child.
Well, look. In Biden's America, that's what happens, okay? The garbage just piles up, and people don't want to work. That's all going to change, my friend.
Oh, boy, is it. Yeah. But we're not going to talk about that because we're here to talk about our 2024 games of the year.
Oh, my God. I took the video game opera. Oh, no, it's here. It's here.
Video game.
Yeah, a little shop talk, a little behind the scenes here. I have a little soundboard on this platform, and it's fine. It's got enough slots for various things, but I've been working on other shows. One of them I'm super excited about. I hope I can share more soon. It's really, really cool. And I've been putting a lot of other sounds on here. So every time I fire up for something else, I'm like, oh shit, do I have all the things? And then I got to find them and re-upload them. And I wish Zencaster had more slots and better control, but it does not.
It does not. But I do want to just briefly say, this is only related because of the sound you just played. And I've decided that if I could inscribe a YouTube and or sound clip on my tombstone, it would be that one.
Great.
Maybe when you come to the tombstone, you just press a button and it plays.
You ever see? I have mixed feelings about this. You ever see people who get tattoos of a sound wave, which is like the sound of their baby laughing or the sound of saying a loved one's name, and then it's like the waveform is on there, is tattooed, or maybe you get like a Christmas ornament of it.
I think I've seen the tattoos before, but I guess, I mean, in a way, I think it's interesting, but in another way, I'm like, well, you can't hear the tattoo.
You can't hear it, right? You can't hear a tattoo. Check out the shop. Get that T-shirt. You can't hear a tattoo.
That's the title of this episode.
Oh, no way. We got to optimize for SEO. Game of the Year 2024.
Game of the Year 2024, you can't hear a tattoo.
You cannot hear the tattoo. And also, this is very semantic and existential, but like, it's sort of arbitrary the way we represent sound. It's not like arbitrary, but like, we have chosen scientifically to visualize sound in this way, but we could just have easily shown it another way. You know, it's almost like saying, well, this is a centimeter. Well, we could have made any length of thing a centimeter. Like we all agreed that this was a thing. So I guess by that I just mean like sound does not have a true visual representation. It is sort of a semantic thing. So you
what
can't
you're saying
hear
is these fucking dumbasses just made it up.
I really like the sentiment of it, and as an audio person, I like the idea of it. But then when I see it, I'm like, yeah, this doesn't quite work. It doesn't quite hit the mark for me.
Yeah, no, I get it.
So I guess I'm saying, are you putting the waveform on the tombstone, or
no? You have to
button?
You have to press a button, and literally you get to hear the magnificence of the whole thing.
I think that exists. I think there are things where you go up to the grave and you hear a message, like a recording from the person. Like that's totally a thing now. It's got to be.
Yeah, for sure. I am sure it is. I am terrified what the gravestones of 20 years from now will be like. They might play clips. They might play TikToks. It's
TikTok. Oh my God. Yes. TikTok gravestones.
Man, if that's not a fiction story waiting to happen, I don't know what is.
Yep.
Anyway.
Well, write it. Get on it. You're the book writer.
Get to work, ho.
Get to fucking
God.
work. It's 2025. As we've done in the past, we have shared our 5 games of the year with each other in Discord chat, direct message, but they are blacked out with spoiler tags, which means both of our lists are sitting here right in front of us, but we cannot see each other's lists, and we will go in reverse chron. That stands for reverse chronological. That means it's not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, so there's a countdown, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And it's fun because we always have guesses before we go through them, but we don't really know what, where our guesses will appear.
Correct.
So that part is fun. Now, I will say, for a side note for everyone, that Matt also brought some honorable mentions, and I did not. I'm sure I have them, but I can't think of them right now. I feel like as I told Matt before we started the show, the 5 games of the year for me were so far above and beyond everything else I played that I really struggled with. Well, actually, I just thought of one honorable mention.
I was just about to say, as we start chatting, I guarantee you will come across others. So maybe we just rattle off a couple of the honorable mentions here before we start the list, because it would be anticlimactic to do it at the end, I suppose.
I guess you're right. Okay, let me add one that I just thought of, and then
we'll kick it off. What did you think of, and why did it hit you?
Okay, so
we're gonna reveal.
Yeah, wait, you have to read it. Yeah, you have to read it, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. I am revealing Colette's first honorable mention, perhaps first of several. It is, Manami Lane, of course. I think that's worth it. I think that's right.
Manami Lane, a very, very Colette game where you get to build a little Japanese street, Japanese film. Japanese themed street, and fill it with people, and you kind of get to gauge what the people are doing, and how they're reacting to your town. So, like, for instance, you'll build a ramen shop, and people go to the ramen shop, and some people are like, oh, I really wish the ramen had more eggs or whatever. Yeah. And then you're like, okay. And then like it goes day by day. And so the next day you can be like, I'm going to add more eggs to the ramen. And then you get to a point where you have to balance out like the likes and dislikes of people between older people and younger people, which I thought was a really interesting dynamic.
I remember you talking about this. Yep.
Yeah, I talked about it on the show, so I'm not going to, go all the way through it again, but really great, just gorgeous animation. Mm-hmm. It's in a bundle called the Serene City Builder bundle, which I should probably buy. But also, I love that as a genre, like city builders that are, like Cloud Gardens, Islanders, like stuff that's like very, you're just kind of chilling, there's not a lot of pressure. You can pet a lot of cats. I was a huge fan of that.
Great.
My only complaint about this game, and it was made by a tiny team of people, so I don't want this to be offensive, is that I just wish it could have gone on longer. It's about
I remember.
I played about 4.5 hours before it was over, and I was like, my God, like I hope they make a sequel, or I hope they do something, because I just adored this game. And if you are curious about the game, it is all of $3.74 on
Sweet.
Steam right now. So yes, it's short, but like I spent a whole lovely Saturday just enjoying it one day, and I loved it.
I keep seeing it pop up here and there, maybe like in the Wholesome. I don't remember if Wholesome published it, but
no, they didn't publish it, but they talked about it because
they
that's how
talk
I
about
found
it. Yeah. So I don't know if they. I do feel like it has gotten minor content updates here and there. So again, I don't think you're getting 40 hours out of the game, but it is.
No, I mean it's made
delightful.
by two people, so it's like I get it. You're not gonna. They did make a plushie last year. I remember it was like that looked like the Tanuki.
Oh, maybe that's
which I
what
thought
I was saying,
really
yeah.
cute. But
Great.
one thing I do appreciate, is like this was obviously popular. People really liked it, but they did not try to like respond to that popularity by being like, oh, we're going to make all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. It's like they just were like, this is the game we made. It's 4 hours long. Like, it's okay. Like
People say this, people talk about it all the time. There is a place for short games. People want them. And
I finished it.
It's great.
I finished it, which is, I don't get to say I finished it about enough games. You know what I mean? Like I have guilt about it, which we've talked about on this show. So like, it was also nice to finish a game.
Beautiful.
That's
beautiful. All right.
It's my turn.
I'll give you one here. Reveal it when you're ready.
Okay, I'll reveal the top one, which is Peglin. Oh gosh, I kind of regret not putting that on my list.
So fun. I loved it. The kids loved it. It was very off my radar. I think it was shown in a Nintendo Direct, Indie Direct or something, and it had been on Steam for some time, and then had come to mobile or was already on mobile, and I was like, oh, this is great. And it's a roguelite. My only beef with it was that I can't remember if there's not a core meta progression system. That's what I typically like to see in these types of games. I think when you fail a run, you learn a lot about how to build your deck as it is a deck of balls, but it's not a deck of cards.
Right.
So you learn and you figure out new strategies, but you don't gain, more health or whatever. There is a way to unlock characters, but I never did. I never really gained progression. But like the kids really loved it. My daughter played it a lot on mobile. Like she was really, really into it. And I found myself popping back into it occasionally, and just a solid game. It's just so fun to watch. For anyone who's listening who may not remember us talking about it or not familiar, it's like a pinball launcher, and you're launching balls with different abilities that then
it's like Peggle.
Peggle.
It's like Peggle, yeah.
You're hitting the pegs, and the pegs add up to different amounts of damage. And then it's like you did 42 damage, but then the ball splits the damage across all the enemies. And then you attack them and you do the damage, and then you get the next ball. And, and you're trying to survive and fight your way in these turn-based battles, essentially. But it's just watching the little Peggle ball go beep, 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 beep. It's just very satisfying, very fun, lots of strategy because you're launching it and then you're also managing the abilities of the ball. So shout out to Peglin. I love it.
That was a really fun one. I also got it this year, and I think I talked about it on the pod. And I don't remember, Matt, if maybe it was that you mentioned it, and I was like, oh yeah, I've always wanted to play that game. I remember, you know what? I think it was because I remember you saying you can download it on mobile for free.
Yes.
And you can play a few levels.
Correct.
And so I think that like I did that, and then I was like, man, the only thing is it's kind of hard to like see like on the little phone screen.
Right. Yes.
And
so the kids
I
enjoyed it on an iPad, which was I think a good experience. And I ended up playing a lot on Switch, I believe.
Yeah, I played on computer. I loved it on computer, but
yep.
I mean, you could certainly play it on a phone. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I didn't mind it too much. I suppose it depends on your how fat your phone is, how thick.
Yeah, thick. But yeah, I mean, I loved it. I remember I also kind of blasted through it somewhat quickly. I think Patrick finished it first, and I was like, oh, you finished Peglin already? But like, once again, same deal. I finished it. it's not easy for me to finish longer games. So
yeah, I was impressed you finished it because I found it to be very challenging as you got to the second area, and I really was unable to. I didn't go hard enough on it to progress further than that. So I was when you said you came back like a week later, you're like, oh, I finished it. I'm like, wow, great, that's awesome. I was impressed.
Yeah, I was into it. I was very into it. Okay, since I don't have more honorable mentions, listeners, I'm going to just keep clicking through, Matt.
I'm just going to blast
go to the next
through
one.
so we can get to the real list.
Okay, Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection.
I was very happy with this. I never played the original Battlefront 1 and 2 Star Wars, and we're a big Star Wars house. And so I was like, I never knew. I don't have any nostalgia for these, but everyone loves them. People were very excited about it. There was a lot of server problems in the beginning that people were grumpy about, but fired it up. I was like, this is really fun. But the most fun was playing, I think it's like Galactic Conquest or something with my son, because it has split screen co-op on Switch. So it's like you can both spawn in as whatever trooper and you can fight your way, and we're making our way across the galaxy, and we just loved it. It was just fire it up, pick it up, play, have a great time. It was a nice experience to play with him, and that was a lot of fun. So I had a lot of fun in 2024 with this re-release of these classic games.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that, and I have some of that in my list, which we'll get to.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Third is Kunitsugami. I think you meant to write Path of the Goddess, but you wrote Bath of the Goddess.
Bath of the Goddess, yes, the sequel to Path of the Goddess. It's the newest one from Capcom. It's Bath of the Goddess. No, Path of the Goddess. I was so impressed with this game. I did not finish it, but putting it on the list, going through my Steam history and looking back at all the stuff that we've been playing, I was like, yeah, I need to come back to this. It's beautiful. It is very unique. It's very special. It is essentially a tower defense, but it's like an action tower defense where you are fighting in real time, but you're saving villagers and then assigning them roles and then placing them on the battlefield so they can hold back the demons that are coming into the village. And it is just a cool premise, and it is all rooted in this Japanese folklore and demonology and stuff. And it's just cool and fun. And just when you think it's like, yeah, okay, I've got all the abilities and I've leveled everything up and I've got all the things and I get this game, then it's like, oh, look at this. You can level up your weapons and you can add abilities to your character. And it's like, whoa, there's a whole skill tree and there's a whole other system here. It's a game that keeps on delivering as you go further along. And I was very impressed with it. That's so
fun. That is so freaking fun. I love it.
I played it once. $30.
Well, it was on Game Pass. I don't know if it still is, but I played it once and I mentioned it to Matt on this podcast, I think. And I remember being like, this is so unusual. And then I never went back to it. I have such a hate-love relationship with the overwhelming world of how many games there are, but
yeah.
Here and there.
Mean, if it didn't grab, one day you'll wake up and you're like, oh, maybe I should go back to that, or it didn't grab you. I'm not a tower defense person. I'm not big on that, but there was just something about the combat and the look and feel of it that did grab me.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, next is Void Crew. I remember you talking about this game.
Yeah, I just have so many mixed feelings about this one because many times I play it, I'm like, oh, I just wish that this was clearer or this was made more sense. But I guess my criticism, it's a huge learning curve, and it's a huge getting over the hump of what does this game want me to do? What does it want from me? I find that the second tier ship, which has more guns and systems and hull and whatever, is it's really a good ship, but I cannot fucking find my way around this boat to save my life. I'm running around in circles. So I'm just things about the design of the game. I'm this would be my number one game if it wasn't so frustrating. However, it really gives me what I want, which is Sea of Thieves in space. I would play that game for 1,000 hours if this game wasn't so quirky, funky, whatever.
Yeah.
And this one in particular, like I've played Sea of Thieves exclusively solo. Like I have rarely teamed up with a crew. And I think it's a great experience solo. This game seems very challenging to play by yourself. I think if I had a crew, it would be amazing, but I don't know that I want to hop in with random people, and nobody I know plays the game. And even if I were to recommend it to someone, I'd be like, okay, just spend 25 hours learning how to walk around the ship, and then we'll be ready to go. It's like, it's hard. I can't recommend it, but it is doing things, and it is aspiring to things that I think are excellent. And I'm looking forward to revisiting it in six months or something.
Yeah, that's awesome. I remember you really being excited about this one. Okay, Empire of the Ants demo. I don't remember this at all.
I may have talked about it with Sky, as a matter of fact, on one of the guest hosting episodes. But briefly, it's an art. I only played the demo, which is why I couldn't put it on any of my Game of the Year contenders or whatever. And I have not bought it yet because it is now released. But it is on my short list, and it's an RTS game. I love ants. I think it's anything that is about ants or ant colonies or ant social structures, I think is super fascinating. And this game is absolutely stunning. And it is cool because when you think of an RTS, you think of a top-down point and click. Let me group these units and move them over here and gather resources. And it very much is that, but from a third person down on the ground ant perspective. So you are playing as a single ant, but it has excellent controller support. It's UE Engine 5 point whatever, so it's absolutely gorgeous, and it really captures the feeling of like an ant going like creeping around, and you can walk up walls and up the side of logs and whatever. And what you're doing is all of the menus, all of the things that you are doing are diegetic. I hope I'm saying that word correct, which is like you're not going into menus to select units. You are walking up to the anthill and then selecting areas of the anthill to say, hey, we got to build defenses on this anthill, or hey, we got to spawn more spitter ants or whatever. And then you are walking around the map and using commands to order your units around the map. And so what happens is like, hey, there's a rival colony, 40 clicks up the map or whatever, and you gather your forces, and it's this overwhelming sea of ants and bugs and termites and whatever, and they're swarming on the enemy ants, and they're fighting, and then you're like, oh shit, we're running out of health, and you're moving them around the map. And it's beautiful. It's so intuitive. It's very tactical because you're managing like food supply and wood supply, and it's cool. It's just so cool, and even just remembering it here and talking about it makes me want to get the full game. So
I'm looking at it, and I don't play strategy games really, and I'm just like I kind of want to download the demo.
Check the demo out.
How I would keep I always feel like weird about playing genres I don't really play, or like genres that I feel like I'm not good at. Like I feel very touchy about that, but I'm also like, it's a demo and it's free. Who cares?
Yeah.
Like this is so interesting, and it looks like you can play multiplayer like cross-platform too.
Oh, that's
which is
good
neat.
To know.
Maybe they added that.
Yeah, I think it's on Xbox. I could be wrong.
Single player online PvP cross-platform multiplayer. But it doesn't say anything about. Of course, it doesn't say anything here about Xbox. But anyway,
online PvP is very interesting. That would be fun.
Yeah, I guess you try to like take out another ant's colony.
I mean, hey, just like you're playing Warcraft or Age of Empires, you're building up your base, and then you're moving your units across the map. But man, I mean, if you're looking at it now, again, it is stunning. It's a gorgeous game. It runs spectacularly. I haven't tried it on Steam Deck, but it would probably be a very nice experience. The controller support is excellent. Like this is a kick back on the couch and play an RTS game with ants. Nice. I'm like, it's fucking beautiful. It's great. So yeah, I got some holiday money to spend. It's either going to be this or Star Wars Outlaws. I can't decide just yet.
Fascinating. I'm glad we talked about this because I clearly missed it I think I must not have been here, like you said.
No, I
And
think I talked
then
about it with Sky.
last honorable mention is Echo Point Nova. I also
Yeah.
don't remember this, so
I
I'm
don't
typing
think
it.
I mentioned this, but it's freaking cool
No,
as
we didn't
hell.
talk about this. I would have remembered. This is cool looking.
Super, super slick, fluid. It's this massive open world of like floating islands, and you are some sort of shooter guy. You have different weapons, and you have like a hoverboard. And so this game is all about just this stunning mobility where you are surfing on this hover. You're running, but then you can gain enough speed to then surf on the hoverboard, and then you are flying off into the air. And you have a grappling hook, so you are grappling on different surfaces, and you're swinging around. And then if you've built up enough meter, you go into slow mo, and you are then clearing basically like arenas of enemies with a variety of different weapons. And it is just so this is a flow state game. It's once you learn the movement, it is just about slick, beautiful sky surfing and shooting guys in the head as you like swoop around them in slow motion. It's just cool as hell, and we played a good little bit of it. It's not really criticism. I think it's just the place I fell off of was the world is enormous, and it prompts you to like, well, hey, to get the next upgrade, I need to find another island to kill guys at. And I guess I found some that were way too hard for my level, and I couldn't seem to access. I couldn't read the map. I guess that would be my criticism of like, there's a massive map, and I'm like, I don't really know where the game wants me to go next, and everywhere I go, I'm just getting my ass kicked. So I either need to get good, or I need to spend more time exploring. And I think Baldur's Gate took me away from that endeavor, but highly recommend Echo Point Nova. It's truly, it's very unique. It's very cool.
Cool. Okay. Awesome.
If you like shooters and movement shooters, I would say.
That is all of Matt's honorable mentions.
That's it for now.
So now, should I go to? You want to start with my number 5 since we just did your mentions list?
We're starting with your number 5. I will reveal it momentarily.
Okay.
Here's what's about to happen. I'm going to reveal your number 5. This is big. This is momentous. This is Colette's 2024 fifth most best game of 2024.
Fifth most bestest game.
I have a little stress ball here that I have been squishing for the past week because I got it in my Christmas stocking. I believe Santa brought it for me.
Oh, how nice of Santa.
And the ooze has just splooged out of the ball, and now my hands are covered in sticky. So what's going to happen is I'm going to reveal this number 5, and then Colette is going to talk about it. I'm going to be hearing everything she says because I have wireless headphones, 2.4 gigahertz. Okay, I don't want to brag. But I will be in the kitchen washing my hands and perhaps throwing this ball away because I'm really sad. But everything she says will be heard, and then I will return in 30 seconds to comment. Are you prepared?
Okay. Prepared.
I'm scrolling up. Reverse chronological. Colette's 5th most bestest 2024 game is Persona 3 Reload. Yep.
So, I mean, we all knew this was going to be on here, and I'm amused because remakes have been a huge, I mean, they're a huge thing every year, honestly, at this point because of nostalgia, but like, you know, they continue, right? And I continue to love them because I've been around long enough to have played a lot of the originals. So I've talked about Persona 3 on the show a lot before, and I've always loved it. It was my very first Persona game. It really made me a huge fan of the series. And so I was really excited about this one because I honestly felt like the Persona games have grown a lot. And I think I talked about this when I was first playing it as well. Persona games have grown a ton, and I felt like there were some tweaks that could be made that would make this better. And I really do think Atlas made all those tweaks. The only thing I still had an issue with, and this is why it's at number 5 and not at number 3 or 2, is that I still felt like Tartarus, the huge dungeon, just felt unbearably long. And I got much further in it this time than I did like this time rather than the first time. But it's really hard not to fizzle out when you're going through like 200 levels of like the same dungeon. I don't know. That's just me.
You had talked about it before, but I don't think you finished Reload.
No, I got really
Tartarus,
close.
right?
I got really close to the end. I think I was in the 200s. I think I had something like 15 levels to go. And I was like, I'm just so fucking tired of being here. So my promise to myself, I was.
Get the shirt in the shop, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just so tired of being here.
Fucking tired of being here. So anyway, I put it aside and I was like, I'm just going to come back and finish this one day. It's probably going to take me like a half hour to an hour when I'm not so over Tartarus. And that was, whenever I put it down months ago. But that said, I still feel like they just took a wonderful game and just made it so much better. And I have to shout it out for that. So that's why it's here on my list. I loved the new music they made. I loved all the new content. It was just great to go back to that world for a while until I couldn't handle the dungeon anymore, of course.
Quality of life and sounds like new music, but like when you say new content, like, are we talking like, Final Fantasy Remake has a lot more story and VO and whatever than the original? Is that what you mean? Or what did they add gameplay wise to Reload?
They made it richer overall, in my opinion. But I mean, gameplay wise, more or less the structure is the same. So that part didn't change. But there was more content. There was more like filled in conversations in places, more explanation of certain things. Obviously the dungeons got everything got an overhaul, a complete overhaul. And it was weird because it made me think about how the first game looked. And I went back and looked at it and it looked ancient.
Really?
to me.
Even with such a stylized, art style, it's interesting that it would age that way. I don't know the series enough to know what it looked like back then.
Yeah, totally just to me. But I just was like, ooh, wow. Like, did it look
very curious
bad?
to compare them now.
No, yeah, you should. Like, pull up one of the YouTube videos that shows the side by side, and I think it's fascinating. But, do I think it's unplayable in the old form? Of course not. I don't. But it just looks old to me now. So, but I recently watched some 80s horror movies and I was horrified by how old they looked. I was like, oh my God, this is just, oh my God. Anyway.
It makes you appreciate the movies and games that really hold up super well because most of them probably don't.
Well, they're a product of their time, I feel like. You know what I mean? Like most of them are. And it's like you look at a movie like Alien and you're like, okay, product of its time, but also timeless looking because of
that's what I mean.
Settings, right?
I wouldn't everything is a product of its time, but that's a perfect example of a movie that like is pitch perfect in every frame,
timeless.
Yeah.
Absolutely timeless. So yeah, I also think that this game, the original was a signature and it really stood out and it was really amazing. But, compared to the new one, yes, it looks old.
Very interesting. I am curious. I'm going to take a peek at that. All right. Shall we move to the next game?
Yep. I'm going to read yours. Number 5 on Matt's Game of the Year list is Path of Exile 2.
I've talked about it. I would love to get your thoughts on where you are and how you got hooked. You alluded to it a little bit, but briefly, I'm just very impressed with it. I think it fills the Diablo-sized hole in all of our hearts. And people talk about Path of Exile like, oh, the skill tree, the learning curve. And yes, it's there and there's a lot to absorb, but it really ramps you in a very clear way. And with a little help from the community and some Googling, which I enjoy that. I enjoy games that are a bit mysterious where you have to sort of unpack some of the systems and be like, whoa, if I do this, I can do this. The way you build your character is so fascinating and can be very rewarding in a very incremental way. Mm-hmm. And then at the same time, I really like games where, okay, I figured out this and I went on the wiki and then I made a spreadsheet and then, okay, if I do this, then I'm going to do this and level up this. And I just got to grind for these 3 more things and then I'm going to get it. And then brain goes off, podcast goes on, and you just kill things for
Kill.
30 minutes, and then you're like, all right, what'd I get? And then you sift through it and you figure it out. And this game does that very well, similar to a Monster Hunter or Diablo. But I just think the way you build is so much more granular than any Diablo ever was,
Super
and
granular.
I love that. So I have fallen off of it, not permanently. I have just been looking elsewhere and playing other things. But as I was making my list, I'm like, you know what? Like I have to put it here. It's not my favorite must play, go to every day kind of game, but it is definitely a game that I can pop back into regularly because it's very well made, and I like seeing the updates. I like seeing what's changed and what's new because they are patching it.
Constantly.
It was every day, every other day, maybe weekly by now. A lot of love and care going into this early access phase, and that's nice to see.
It's also to me very cool to see what's already, I think, like a very, very good game, and know that like they're working on already making this a significantly better game, because it's already a really good game to me. So I'm like, this is really, really cool. But I was trying to resist on this one because I have this list of other really good games that I'm like, I just really want to, and it didn't work. I failed because a friend came over and just went off about how much he loved it, and I couldn't.
Amazing.
And he has very infectious enthusiasm, and I was like, oh no. So I gave in, and I also knew that Patrick and I could play it together, and I just felt like
it has excellent couch co-op. It's
right.
not split screen. It's you're there together on the screen, and
right,
it's
which is
seamless. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's just nice, And
nice.
so I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get it, and I really haven't been able to put it down. So, it's been a ton of fun for me. I found it really interesting, kind of focusing in on like how did you nail the Diablo 2 feeling in a way that Diablo itself couldn't do with its follow-up games?
Yes.
And I spent a lot of time while playing kind of trying to figure out like what aspect was this? Like, was it the music is absolutely fucking nails it. I'm like, oh my
it's
God,
pretty cool.
I'm in Diablo 2. Amazing. But like, there's all these other pieces, that I don't know. Like, I just
atmosphere and vibes.
I guess,
for lack of a better word,
maybe
the word of the year for 2024 is certainly vibes, and it just has an aesthetic and a vibe that feels very Diablo 2 with the trappings of a really enormous and intricate live service multiplayer, community experience.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. Honestly, like it's just. It's hard to nail why it hits just so right and feels so good, and why Diablo 3 and 4 became so boring. Yeah. Like I just wasn't having fun anymore. And I'm thinking to myself, why am I having so much fun doing this? I personally think it is the skill tree and the way that they gave you this absolutely like wide open option of all the ways you could build, and not really being tied to just one build. So
you feel it when you get to a node on the skill tree that's like, okay, I'm playing a ranger, so you can go anywhere you want on the skill tree, but I find it really fascinating that's like, well, I'm using mostly ranged attacks, so why would I go to this side of the skill tree that has like melee and strength things? I'm going to go along this path, but I'm going to branch out to do some magic elemental spells, but mostly. And when you're like +5 this, +5 this, and then it's like plus 20% damage to all ranged attacks. And you're like, oh, okay. Boom, you level that up. And it's like, oh shit, now I can beat this boss. Now I can clear this area. Now I suddenly can push through this wall. And that feels really good. It feels earned.
It does. It feels earned. We just hit oh my God, the count. I forget his name. We're in Act 1, but like when you go into the big mansion and we hit the count.
That's a tough fight.
Yeah, and we were like, man, he is fucking destroying our asses. And we were like, all right, we clearly have to like think about this and like either respec or, like we have to figure out how we're going to do this. But it was interesting because to me, it doesn't feel like to me, it doesn't necessarily feel annoyingly difficult. It feels
Right.
like okay, yeah, I could give this a try. I could figure out how to change this.
Achievable difficulty.
Challenging. Yeah.
Whereas Dark Souls or Elden Ring, this game has been called like Diablo plus Elden Ring, which I think is good and fair. It's a good way to describe it. But your point is really salient here in that when I play those games, I'm like, I'm never gonna do this. I can never beat this boss. But Path of Exile is like, you know what? If I find a better sword and maybe level up this one skill, I might be able to pull it out. And you can team up with, you can create a party and be like, I need help with this boss, and then people will join you, and then you can take them down together. And I love that. I love that kind of co-op.
Yeah, yeah, it's just fun. And then the idea that your friends can join you too, because we have multiple friends playing, is also to me incredibly fun. Like, it's just like, oh hell yeah! Like,
I gotta get back in there with you. Like, now that you and Patrick are there, I don't know if you can just see your Steam friends. Well, are you on Steam or are you on PS5?
We're on Steam.
Great. So it's like, oh, you're online. I'm online. Great. You're on this act. Great. Let me hop in. I'll level up. You'll do this boss. Like, I would love that.
I would too.
This is making me want to go back to it.
I would too. We have a couple of, I think our characters are probably about level 18.
Okay. I forget where I am.
So that's where we are. But
I know where I am. I'm level 25 because that unlocks the ability to sell your gear to other players, which I love game economies. And so the short version is you purchase a premium inventory tab, which I highly recommend because it allows you to sort items and it also allows you to mark them as public. And so what you do is you put, you have all your junk and you have all your orbs and gems, and you're like, all right, this is for me. I'm going to work this out. But then in your other tab, you say, this stuff I don't want, but it is valuable to other players who have different classes. So this staff is really good. I'm going to put it here, and I want to sell it for one, I forget, regal orb or whatever, because I want to upgrade this bow that is really good, but it's not good yet. But it could be good if I upgrade it.
Yeah, like I think I'm definitely, like, my weapons have been doing good up to this point, and now I feel like the count is just like, nah, bro. Like, I told Patrick, I was like, it feels like we just have no hope in this fight.
Right.
And so I'm like, okay, obviously that means, pause, etc.
But you could either grind for better loot and or orbs to upgrade weapons and armor that you've already found, or you could use the orbs you currently have to trade for gear with specific stats. And what you do is you just open up the web page and you say, I want gear that does this and this, and I want it to be a bow, and I only want to see players who are currently online. And it shows you them, and it's listing on the website all of the stuff that other players have for sale in their public inventory tab. And you just boop a button on your phone, and it's like, hey, I'd like to buy this. And then you meet up in the game, and then you swap whatever the price is, and then you've got the thing you want. And or vice versa, if you have things for sale, you'll get a message. The one I play with a controller, and I play away from my keyboard all the time. So I guess that's my one beef, is that it's very hard to communicate with other players if you're not at a keyboard. But I just love trading systems, and so I only mention it because this opens up at level 25, even though that's not clear. The game doesn't really explain that, and I realized that, and I'm like, oh, cool. Now I could like sell stuff and meet up with other players. So anyway, this is all reminding me that I love this game, and I'd like to get back to it at some point.
Yeah, that I'm glad you told me all that, because I see people talking about it in global, and I was like, I wonder when that opens. So
global's so fun. I love that. It's just like, hey, is this good? Like, people just sharing weapons and stuff, like, what about this? And just people talking, and it's just nice. It's not because your brain is off while you're just smashing through enemies, so it's just fun to see what people are talking about.
Exactly, it totally is. And at first I was like, I want to turn this off because I hate seeing chats for some reason. But then like I couldn't figure it out, and so I just left it there. And then over time I was like, actually this is kind of neat, and people are not as douchey as I kind of assumed that they would be.
You get a few weird things here and there, but for the most part it's people talking about the game. The funniest thing was when the Mike Tyson Logan Paul, is it the other Paul? I don't remember, that boxing match on Netflix or whatever it was. I wasn't watching it because I don't care, but I was playing Path of Exile, and the entire global chat was like, "Wow, this stream sucks! Oh my god, Mike Tyson!" Like, people were talking about current events in the media while they're playing Path of Exile in global chat. I'm like, this is. I feel like I'm in the world. I'm among the culture while playing this game. It's just fun. It's cool.
No, you're right. That's a really cool way of putting it. I like that.
All right.
Okay, list.
Number 4.
Right. Let's do it.
Colette Bennett's 2024 number 4 game of the year is clickety click. Oh! It's Path of Exile 2.
It's Path of Exile 2, which we literally just talked about for 10 straight minutes. So, yeah, I don't really have more to say. So I'm gonna bounce back to Matt's list and go to his number 4.
We're just saving time.
I know, which is Tiny Glade.
Tiny Glade. I had to put it on here. I didn't want to. I was like, is this an honorable mention? I did not play a ton of it, but I really, really think it is extraordinarily special. There's nothing else like it. The way that this game generates terrain and buildings, it seems so simple. There's like 6 buttons, basically, but the way the pieces connect and the way, and the main reason I'm shouting this out is because it's really innovative. It's really fun. It's really special. And also, my daughter really liked it. It runs great on the Steam Deck, but you have to sort of configure the controls to your liking because it is 100% a mouse and keyboard game. So you'll end up using trackpads and whatever, but it's really nice to play it there. And then where it really hits is like, all right, I made a little tower and I figured out how to put the doors on and the path leads here and here's a little sheep and here, I made this. It's so cool. And you're like, wow, it's so cool. And then you go on the subreddit. It's like, well, I made Minas Tirith from Lord of the Rings from the Two Towers. And it's like they made an entire city that looks exactly like the city from the movie. And I'm like, I only have 6 buttons. And I made a castle. I made a 1 tower. How the fuck did you make a city in Tiny Glade? And people are just making like these things that you didn't think could be possible. And they're doing it because the internet is a wellspring of creativity. You give the internet anything, you give the internet Minecraft, and they will make a computer inside of Minecraft. Like, it's one of those types of games. How it is. And I love that, and I love seeing it. And even though I'm not currently like playing it a lot, I like seeing what people are doing. And I wonder. I hope that I know it has been a success, and I hope that maybe the game gets expanded, or maybe that engine tech is utilized for future games. Or I just think it's excellent. So that is my number 4. Did you ever try it? Cool. Did you ever give it a spin?
I tried the demo and I was this is so charming. And then I forgot about it.
It's a toy. There's no, I go back and forth because I need reasons to level up and earn and unlock things. That's how my brain works. So a pile of Legos is not enough to get me excited. And this is Legos. It's make whatever you want. And it's stunning, but it doesn't, I don't have a reason to play it. I'm not that good at it, so I don't have a reason to make stuff. But I highly recommend it.
Still like it.
Highly recommend it. I think it's excellent.
Very, very cool. All right, what
Number
is
3,
it? Back to my list. Unveiler,
back to
baby.
Colette's list. Hopefully, it's not the same games we've already been talking about. Am I right?
Am I right, man?
Clickety click, click, click. Number 3 is wow.
Wow.
Wow. Metaphor Refantasio. Obviously, it's on your list. It is interesting to me that it is only number 3.
Number 3, yeah. So here's the reason why I think it's number 3. I don't think it really has that much to do with its quality. This is very frustrating to me, what I'm about to share.
Oh boy.
So played the demo, was fully ADHD hyperfixated on it, tried not to abandon Silent Hill 2, which I had played a large quantity of, was like, don't do it. Gave in, did it, got it, played it. started to realize how challenging it was. I was like, wow, this is really challenging.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, still obsessed, but absolutely going like, oh, like obsessed, but also must try harder. So Patrick and I started playing it kind of together in that he would be in the room and I'd be like, oh man, I'm frustrated. And then like
Okay.
I'd keep puzzling at like how to like reformat the team, or he'd be like, oh, well, you could try this, or what if we tried this or whatever. And so like we'd do that and we'd get past a boss, and then, anyway, long story short, it became a situation where we were playing together because I was absolutely relying on him to kind of help me with like figuring out the teams. And then he got really busy with work. and then and then and then the same thing happened, which was, man, like I really shouldn't buy Path of Exile because then I'm gonna abandon this.
Totally. Yep.
Right. And so that's exactly what happened. I have not played it. I kept thinking over break I'm going to play it. Haven't picked it up once because I blame Path of Exile because it's so easy to pick up and play.
Yep.
And I'm like, God damn it. So, I know this
Metaphor is it seems like one of those games where if you step away from it for too long, you're going to come back and be like, wait, what's happening? Who's it? What am I doing? Which character does the thing with the thing?
Yeah.
It's dangerous.
I'm worried about that. Like, I'm kind of like, oh man, I don't know. Like if I pick it up again, and then another part of me is like, you should just start from scratch because like I remember what's going on kind
25
of
25 hours. Like you have gone very far.
I know. So I feel like I could not put it at 1 because I simply haven't played enough of it. And that's not fair.
Fair enough.
So that's why I had to put it there, more so because of me and less because of it.
Yes.
I thought earlier when I started playing it this year, I was like, this is going to be number 1. No fucking question.
I expected it to be number 2 or number 1 here for you. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll get there.
Okay.
But at any rate, I'll leave it there for now and say that I have a few days left to pick it back up, or I could just keep Path of Exiling for the rest of my vacation. So I guess we'll see what happens.
It's as we've progressed with the show and talked all through the year, I feel like when Baldur's Gate 3 is completed, for me, it's going to be Star Wars Outlaws or Metaphor and Empire of the Ants, but that's like a different kind of game. So it's kind of a toss up between those two for me right now. I think it's going to be like, what am I in the mood for when Baldur's Gate is done and which one is on sale? I've been resisting Outlaws this whole break because it's currently on sale and it will be not on sale tomorrow. And so I don't know, can't decide. But the more, every time you talk about it, I'm like, yeah, no, I really do need to jump back in there, or at least maybe I'll just go back to the demo and like, go all the way through the demo.
I think, like going back to the demo, if you finish the demo and you feel excited enough to buy it, that's one thing. But I mean, on the other hand, I think it's already starting to get some markdowns. So you could always just wait until it's like half off or something. And
that will be, I mean, cause like, I'm in Act 3 of Baldur's Gate, but there's no end in sight.
Right. No,
there's a lot more to do. Every time I complete a like part of a quest, it's like, what if you did this? And it's like, what the hell? Holy shit. This guy's still here? What? Yep. Anyway. Baldur's Gate 3 is my 2024 game of the year, despite it coming out in 2022, 23, whatever. All right. Metaphor. Whew.
Metaphor. Back to your list. Number 3 is, and I knew this would be on the list somewhere, but I didn't know where it was, is Balatro.
It's Balatro.
Lot of lists with Balatro in it this year.
So, I mean, it's on the list. It's on my list for all the reasons it's on your list, dear listeners and game publishers and influencers. It's just this extraordinary thing that came out of nowhere. It's very special. It's very unique. It is the roguelike. And despite not having that solid meta progression that we know and love from our Hadeses and our other types of games, it does that thing to your brain where you encounter a different way to play every single time you do a run, and it creates permutations in your mind of like, whoa, if I got this Joker with this multiplier and I open this pack, then if I do this, then it turns a hand of poker from like, yeah, that scored 900 points. and then with one change, one multiplier or one card or some combination of things, it goes from a 900 point hand to like literally a 7,000 point hand or something. And it's like, how the hell did I get from point A to point B? Well, it's this crazy random permutation that you sort of strategized and you sort of saw it coming, but then you got really lucky here and then you spent your money in this exact way here and that led to this. And conversely, you could have had that and you could have beat this boss, but instead it didn't quite click, or the boss had this ability. You have this like sick build that just bulldozes everything, but this boss is like, all your diamond cards score 0. And you're like, but my whole thing was diamonds. And then you get fucked and you're back to the beginning. And so it is very emergent, very strategic, very surprise and delight. And also you just get bitch slapped like just instantly during a run when you least expect it. And I could see that being frustrating to some players, and I have been frustrated on occasion. But it is an S tier game, and it's on everyone's list for good reason.
Yeah, I tried it. I had the hardest bounce off of it, and I think it was possibly because I've never been a fan of card games to begin with.
Sure.
So I was like, I totally get it. I totally get what everybody's loving. But like, if you already like don't enjoy solitaire poker, I just doubt you would enjoy it. Like,
it's funny though. It didn't have to be poker. It's got a poker skin on it, but it really, in a way, has nothing to do with poker. So if you had goblins and knights on the cards instead of 9s and 7s, but the systems were the same, it would be the same game, sort of. It would just be like 2 knights and 3 goblins makes this hand. So in a way, you're not playing poker. It is just using a deck of traditional cards to create a deck building roguelike game. And in that way, I think it's really very fascinating. It's a very fascinating approach to this style of game.
Yeah, I think you told me that, and I was like, I want to try, and anyway, I couldn't. So I wish I could, but been there with games before. And
absolutely.
Here we are again.
We're coming up here. We're in the top 2.
We're getting up there.
It's getting exciting. It's getting hot in here. We've stripped down to our underwear. You can't see us, listeners, but it's Happy New Year here. For every game we reveal, we take off an article of clothing. That's how we do it here. Are you prepared? Number 2 on Colette's list. It's a short one. I'm seeing it's not a lot of characters here.
Not a lot of characters.
I'm clicking on it, and it is, whoa, Hades 2. It is
Hades
definitely
2.
getting hot. It's hot as Hades in here.
Yeah, I've played a lot of Hades 2. I will say I have not finished Hades 2 yet. But I have to be in the Hades mood, and I feel like I would have to actually look at my hours played. I'm pretty sure I've probably played maybe about 80% as much as I played Hades 1. I do feel like Hades 2 is a little harder, but I also feel like I've been watching them like balance it and like update it because it's in early access. And when I came across Hades before, it was out of early access already.
Okay.
So I definitely didn't, miss like I didn't get what I'm getting now, which is like, they're working on it, right? So anyway, I love this game. At first when I played it, I was like, this is gorgeous. This is everything I want. And it's also like kind of more complicated than Hades was, with adding in the magic. I feel like it got like, every button did 2 things instead of 1. And I always feel so like dumb when I say this, but like I like simple control schemes. Yeah. So the more complicated a game gets, the more I kind of find myself struggling with it. Hence a Path of Exile where kind of, it is complicated with, the way you use the skill tree and everything, but you're basically just still clicking and killing, right?
Yeah.
So I like
Though
that.
you have to assign
right?
a lot of skills, and at least with a controller, it's like a lot of oh, this is on the left button and this is on the trigger and this is on A, and manage it. So you can click and kill, but also I found Path of Exile 2 to be a you got to get your sea legs with the systems, and then you change
Yes.
up the systems. Like, oh, I really like to do my little jump escape on this button rather than this button. Anyway, so I found that interesting.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, this is, a great game that I have loved, and I feel like delivered everything I loved about Hades and then also delivered some new things. It perfectly nails the familiarity of, I loved the original game, to me anyway. But yeah, so, I'm not finished it. I know I'll be going back to it because it's one of those things where, with a deep RPG, I feel like it's like you have to remember where you were in the story, and it's really complex. And like Hades 2 has a story, but like honestly, I feel like I can pick it up and play it anytime.
Right.
And when I think about the games that I've spent the most time with, especially over the last few years, it's more the games I can pick up and play at any time than it is the games that are like 40, 50, 60 hours long.
Yes.
I guess it just fits me better in my life.
But Hades has the best of both worlds because it is it's action and it's grind and it's smash buttons, but also the story is excellent and the characters are excellent at the same time.
And also, as a side note, a strange, unrelated, related. I will say that all the rolling that I've done in Hades and Hades 2 made me very ready for Path of Exile 2 when I saw how much rolling there was to do. And a friend of ours was playing with us the other night. We were in a boss fight and everyone else died. So I was like trying to hold my own in this boss fight. And my friend was like, dude, your fucking reflexes are crazy killer. He was like, I can't believe how long you lasted in this like really hard fight, like, almost to the end. And then like I got, taken out by a rogue hit or something. And I was like, that's Hades.
For sure. You've been training your whole life.
That's Hades reflexes right there. So
we left out the most important question. What class are you playing in Path of Exile 2?
Oh, a monk. I always play monks.
Okay. Yeah.
In Diablo 2, I played the monk and I played the assassin. The assassin is my favorite class in any type of game like this ever.
Nice.
But I've never seen the assassin reappear, which is sad to me because I really liked having Freddy Krueger claws, but apparently other people didn't maybe. So my second pick is always monk. And I'm running a monk in this one. I was running an ice monk, and now that I'm hitting this count and being like, ooh, I don't know how much further I can go, I'm actually thinking about respecking because I've been reading some build guides, and I've found a really interesting one about heavily specking it towards lightning. So I might fuck with my specs today and see how that goes.
Monk looks really fun. My son chose Monk, and there are just a lot of, it seems like magic skills. Like he has one that like you push a bunch of earth or bones towards your enemies, and it's like these big bone spikes. But then as they spike out, either the enemy corpses turn into like these bone crawlers, or the bone crawlers like come out of the earth. So you're not only like whooshing your enemies away from you, but you are also creating little minions that can also attack. And he fucking loves it. He thinks it's just the coolest thing in the world, and it's fun to see. I don't know if it's a good or bad build, but it's cool to see it. It's just a cool animation to play.
I don't know anything about good or bad builds. Like I'm terrible with shit like that. Honestly, to me, like everyone is in like, global talking about all the builds and all this stuff. And I'm just I like in my first playthrough of a game like this to just discover my own build. Is it optimized? No. Am I a min-maxer? Absolutely not. I just kind of enjoy like figuring it out, And so I don't know. But now I'm hitting a point where I'm struggling. And so, obviously, since I'm struggling with this boss, I am thinking, okay, maybe now I have to pay attention to a build. So hence the guide I looked up today.
Yeah.
But usually I just like to figure it out because to me, it kind of sucks some fun out of it to just look it up and plug in the specs and be like,
and if the game is well balanced, which they are constantly doing, there should not be a single best build for any class. It should be like, if you want to do the ice path, you should do ice, and you're not going to put maybe you're not going to put a range skill gem on an ice thing. You want to put a duration skill gem on an ice thing so that the enemies stay frozen longer. That's just sort of like common sense figuring out. Like, there are good and bad ways to build up a certain type of character, but the lightning build should not be the best build. It should just be, how do I do the lightning build, or how do I do the fire build? And that's if the game is balanced, that's
Right.
what's fun about these kind of games. I love that.
For sure. Yeah, I agree. Okay, let's see. Let's go to Matt's number 2, guys. Oh, I clicked it.
She clicked it.
Yep. Matt's number 2 is Helldivers 2.
Number 2, Helldivers 2.
There's a lot of 2s on this list so far, I realized.
I know, that's true.
I've got several. You've got several.
We've both got 2 2s, and you've got a remake.
Yep.
And do I have yeah, well, look, no, we're not getting ahead of ourselves. I know what number 1 is for Colette, because it didn't appear on the list. So, well, we'll see.
Wait,
we'll
it didn't
see. No, I'm saying I haven't clicked it yet.
You haven't clicked it. Yeah.
But because there's a particular game that is not currently on the list, then I have my suspicions. But yes, sequels, remakes, and such. I just had so much fun with Helldivers 2.
You loved this game. You loved it.
I'm no longer playing it, but I'm not done forever. But I had not played it in some time, and I uninstalled it to make some room for other games. But I had always been curious, and I asked Patrick about it, and I was like, oh, I really love Deep Rock, and is it like that? How does it feel? Does it have the DNA? And he's like, yeah, it totally has that, but it's like got this whole military thing. And once I got a handle on it, and it did take me some time to be like, I'm getting overwhelmed. I'm in the wrong missions. I don't know what skills are, what is good for this. How do I, blow up the holes in the earth or whatever. But once you really figure out how tactical the game is, it is just this like really exciting, thrilling action shooter, third-person shooter, where cooperation is absolutely key and communication is key, even though you can do voice chat, but no one does. I've never done it, and I don't do voice chat with other players or strangers. But there was ways to communicate and ping and cover each other and mark objectives that are so mysterious when you first start. You're like, what is that? Why are we going here? What's the point of this? Why are we raising this flag? What is happening? And the more you learn from other players. And then as you learn the ropes, you start to get a handle on like, okay, I can be valuable, and I can pull my weight by doing this or that. And the other factor here, in addition to all the weapons and all the guns being so unique and different, and again, talking about builds, you're putting together a loadout that is both fun to play, but is also specialized for the types of enemies or missions you're doing. On top of that, it's the stratagems, which are, again, you're out in the field and shit's going crazy, and then you pull up your little power glove and you go beep, boop, beep, and then like a 500 kilogram bomb drops on this hive of bugs or, this factory of robots. And you're like, get down, watch out, and it blows everything. Like in the nick of time, you're like blowing up and you're escaping and you're getting to the extraction point. And every single match of Helldivers, round, whatever you want to call it, every single mission feels like an epic action movie. And and you are, once you get a handle on it, you really feel like you have real agency. Like it feels like a cinematic cutscene, but you are the one doing all the things in it. And again, it's also, the premise is just this Starship Troopers over the top freedom, democracy. We got to bring democracy to these alien bugs because they hate our freedom. It is beautifully political satire, and given the world we live in today, I think paying attention to extreme nationalism and extreme freedom and democracy bullshit is it's the right moment for that sort of satire and parody. So It's just got the whole package. It runs great. It's a beautiful game, even though it's very dark and sinister and gross. It's just cool, and it's an achievement. They really not in a world where there's 1,000 live service shooter co-op games that you could play.
Yep.
This thing is it stands out, and it is very very unique.
That's awesome. Yeah, Patrick loved this game so much. He played it a ton. I watched it being played. He kept encouraging me to play it because he was like, this reminds me of Earth Defense Force.
Sure.
And I was like, yeah, but I don't know. I guess I just didn't have the same pull, so I never ended up trying it. But I mean, obviously, this is clearly a standout, on many a list. So I'm not surprised that it made it on yours.
Yeah. Really had a lot of fun with it. Spent a lot of enjoyable hours with it, and hung with Patrick in many co the Steam whatever, the matchmaking is great because you can just be like dum de dum de dum doing my missions, whatever, and all of a sudden he would just pop onto my ship and be like, all right, here we go, and it was nice.
Yeah, I loved it because I don't know if you realized this, but that's the first time that y'all ever actually played a game together.
Oh, definitely. For sure.
It was. And then after that, you guys did Baldur's, which if we end up doing Path of Exile, it'll be the third time. And I think that it's very cute that it took us that long, having done this podcast for many years. But regardless, I'm very happy that it worked out that way.
I don't know that the three of us have ever been in a game at the same time, because when you did join Baldur's Gate, you popped in as his character because I think he was working night or something.
Oh, that's right. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So if we do that with Path of Exile, that'll be the first time. It'll be fun.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be fun.
All right.
You're down to it. You're down to it.
I know what this is. I'm pretty sure I know it, and it is very interesting that it is at number 1. So I'm going to click it. Drum roll, please. Boom! Silent Hill 2 is Colette Bennett's number 1 game of the year 2024.
There's just so many feelings about this. And in the end I was like, is nostalgia really winning me over? But here's the thing.
This is what I'm wondering about. Yes.
No. Here's the thing. I mean, yes, I see your point. But that said, there was so much fear about having this game redone. So much fear. For sure. Oh my God. It's classic. It's perfect. They're going to ruin it. And I was one of the few people I remember who was like, no, man, I really like and believe in Bloober Team.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think they're going to pull this off. And my reasoning was this. I think Bloober Team has an atmosphere absolutely fucking nailed. Mm-hmm. Great atmosphere. I feel like the gameplay is fun. I really, really liked Layers of Fear from them. Loved it. Could not wait to play more from them after playing Layers of Fear, and then it was like, okay, they've done other stuff too, by the way, but they got into horror with Layers of Fear, so that was 2016.
What were they doing before horror, though? I don't know them for anything but that.
They did one puzzle platformer game called Amen that I never played, so I can't really spoke to it. And then they did an arena game called Brawl, and then after that they just totally ditched all that and just went full horror.
Full bore, yeah.
I liked Layers of Fear a lot. I liked Layers of Fear 2 a lot. I thought it was especially the first Layers of Fear, really good storytelling. So then I remember being really excited because their first full length, more AAA effort was called The Medium, and really great ideas.
Yes, right.
But hit a point where I was just like, the story's not doing it for me. So I really didn't have any fear about them doing Silent Hill 2 because I was like, you've got the story already. The story's already great.
That's a great point.
And you guys are masters of atmosphere. So
that's really interesting.
This will work. And everyone's like, no, it won't work. They'll suck. And I was like, it's going to work. And
wow.
To me, this is a literal perfect execution. Now, that said, I have not seen the final boss fight. I'm about, I would say about 60% into Silent Hill 2 is where I stopped and got distracted by metaphor.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like I don't know the story, but I'm completely unspoiled as far as how the final boss fight has changed. But everything from, the recompositions of the music by Akira Yamaoka, the thing that struck me so much, and I know I talked about it on the podcast, so I'm going to keep this short. I feel like Bloober executed this with such respect and such minimalism. At no time in this game do you feel them trying to be like, hey, it's us. They let the base game shine, and all they did was elevate and lift it up. But you can also absolutely see, how do I put it? They were never fighting for the spotlight, but they managed to be in it by not fighting for the spotlight.
That's fascinating and very, very good analysis. I just think this is a very nuanced analysis, given your history with the game and your attention to what makes a game great, and aesthetically and mechanically.
It's hard to not have an ego about remaking a game of this, of this
for
meaning and this size. Yes. They never were like, we got Silent Hill 2, bitches. Ever. They absolutely handled it in a way that I think to me was maybe the most appealing thing about it, the way they handled it. So
here's a kind of a dumb, weird, ignorant question. Like, who made the original game and where are they now? Why didn't the original team / studio do it the way that Square is the one who remade Final Fantasy VII, for example? Like, they didn't farm it out to another company the way they did here.
No, very good question. And this podcast just got 20 minutes longer. I'm sorry. So the first 3 Silent Hill games were made by a team that refer to themselves as Team Silent. They are now fully defunct. But several members of Team Silent participated in the remake of Silent Hill 2. So you had the Masahiro Ito, who was the monster designer for Silent Hill 1, 2, and 3. He, I think, was key in being a part of this. You had Akira Yamaoka, who was the sound designer and producer, also a huge person to be involved. So he was the one that came back and remade the music. It's the same music, but it's absolutely
just orchestrated cleanup.
Yeah. And so I think knowing that they had Team Silent members there to work on it, I think was very important. Konami was responsible for the disbanding of Team Silent because their decision was that they wanted their games to have a different feeling than what Team Silent was producing, which I think what Team Silent was producing was revolutionary within Konami, quite honestly. So, and
by Konami saying they want different kinds of games, you mean they want to stop making games forever and never make games ever again?
I guess. I mean, basically how it went is that, they were there for Silent Hill 2, 3, and 4, and then they took it away from them and they handed it over to other people. And that's where Origins, Homecoming, Shattered Memories, and Downpour came from. I would say that of those games, none of them execute in quite the same way that Team Silent executed Silent Hill games. They all feel like they're like, oh yeah, we got the atmosphere and we got the thing and you're in the town, but they never feel like they get it, to me. And so I felt really strongly that by having some of these members in the making of a Silent Hill 2 remake, that it would be what it should be along with Bloober's work. And I feel like that absolutely came out. I think, I don't know, Masahiro Ito has continued to do art, and he also posts on Twitter super regularly about his process. I used to follow him and really enjoy reading all this stuff. Some of the members of Team Silent were worked on The Short Message, which was a free Silent Hill game that came out early last year. And then I think some of the other members have gone on to do either other game projects or some of them non-game projects. So now
2 is clearly a fan favorite and I assume a critically acclaimed one in the series. But I guess I wonder if Konami, the business, felt justified. Did 3 and 4 and all the other spinoffs, did they do better or well commercially? They were all flops.
I mean, I wouldn't go as far as to call them flops, but what
They were not
happened
hits.
was, right. So Silent Hill 1 did pretty well, enough to warrant a second one. And
Yep.
then Silent Hill 2, as I recall, I believe was the performer of the series.
Okay.
Looking it up as we speak because now I'm curious.
Yeah, so they changed like aesthetic
1 million copies.
direction,
Yeah,
and then the subsequent ones were bad, and then they were like, no, we're good, like that's fine.
I mean, I think what it was, if you look at the sales, is that after 3 and 4 sales went down. And
Yep.
so my thought was that, Konami being a business, they were probably like, you're not succeeding at these games, get the fuck out of here. And they were like, so we're going to give it to other people. And then the other people's results didn't do well either.
Right.
And
yeah,
then
exactly.
Konami was just like, fuck it. We've pounded away at this. It's not going anywhere. They dropped Silent Hill for a long period of time. And then with the remake of 2, they also decided to kind of usher Silent Hill back in a big way.
Right. Which, and this game has been a commercial success, I presume.
A huge commercial success. Yeah, like I think hold on a second. I remember reading that they hit 1 million sales like really quickly, like
because of the original, if the
3 days
original game
after
only
release.
sold 1
million copies in 3 days. So that was pretty big.
But did you say the original had sold 1 million in its lifetime as well? Is that
not? I mean, yes, but not in 3 days.
No, not in 3 days. But so I guess it's a curious equation around who is this game for? Because obviously it is for the 1 million people who played and loved the original Silent Hill. You are that person, right? But like, in order to be commercially viable in 2024, it probably needs to break through beyond that. And so it needs to hit the zeitgeist or be critically acclaimed in a way that's like, oh, other horror people, I never played Silent Hill, maybe I'll check it out. And then they buy this game.
Right. I mean, I think it's for those people as well, right? It's for people like me.
It's gotta be.
Who loved it. And then I think it's for people to say, oh yeah, I missed this when it first came out. And if you think about it, that's the same strategy really for like Resident Evil remakes and all that. It's like, it's for the people who loved that original game. And then B, it's for people who are like, oh, I missed that. Or, oh, what is this?
It's tricky though, because it's a sequel. So I think if I were a horror fan and maybe a more casual games media consumer, I'd be like, whoa, Silent Hill 2 remake, that's cool. I never played the first one, so I don't know, is this, can I get this one? I don't know
it?
Can I play this one?
This is actually how I played the remakes. That is how I played all the Resident Evil games, because when I purchased Silent Hill 2, I was very young and didn't have a lot of money, and so at that time it was choose between Silent Hill or Resident Evil, and I chose Silent Hill. Mm-hmm. But I didn't get to take the Resident Evil journey because I didn't even start playing Resident Evil until
this is a great example.
4. No, sorry, 5. 5 was my first Resident Evil. So when all the new Resident Evils came out and were remade, I was like, oh, cool. Now I can experience these in a modern way. So that's one version of who it's for, in my opinion.
Yeah, that makes total sense. That's cool.
Yeah,
they did the math. They did the work. They did a good job. And it's clearly great. It's a great result.
The last thing I'll say is that I absolutely considered, like, is this about nostalgia? And I think the reviews of this remake pretty well support me choosing it for this, because like I had to think about it and be like, is this really a great game, or is it, the what my old Retroforce colleagues used to call the retro goggles? And I think that it is truly a great game.
It can be both.
Beautifully made.
There's nothing wrong with it being both.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fine as well. But I think it is truly one of the finest games I've played in a long time. And
excellent.
This whole conversation is just making me want to finish it. So.
Yeah, I know having this conversation and then thinking about the next month or so is really fun and interesting.
It is indeed.
Silent Hill 2 is Colette Bennett's Game of the Year 2024. We just have one more here.
I am about to announce Matt's, which before this call, I was like, I think I know what it's going to be.
Yes.
And I would just like to say that I was right.
Yeah.
Matt Silverman's #1 game of 2024 is Unicorn Overlord.
It wasn't hard to arrive at this, but I did want to make sure that I had looked back at all the things and kind of analyzed where I spent time and where I had fun. And because, as we talk about a lot, most time does not equal most fun. Usually that's not the case.
Yeah.
And I just kind of looking back at this and saying like, yep, this was my go-to game for, I'm going to say like a solid month or so. Like it was the game I would play almost every single night. It was a very rich and engrossing experience, while at the same time being a very chill and peaceful, like unwinding experience, especially at a time when my mental health was not amazing, and it was a very good comforting way to wrap up in the evening. And this was January, February of this year, whatever it came out. So it was very, very a long time ago, a year ago, roughly. But it's so well made. It's so intuitive, yet very richly tactical and engrossing and deep. But then at the same time is also doesn't have to be. So if you don't want to unpack all the systems, if you don't want to min-max all your characters and combine different parties and test them all out to figure out what's going on, you really don't have to. I was expecting to hit difficulty spikes and walls where it's like, oh my God, I got to bust out the spreadsheets for this. And you really don't have to. You can kind of just brute force it. You can kind of just level up a little bit, or you can mix up your parties a smidge, and then you're like, oh, okay, cool, I got this covered. And despite it being, despite the loop being the same over and over again, it's like story, then you go to this area, then you do the battle, but despite that being the case, and despite the mechanics of the battles being the same every time, the way the maps are laid out, the way you encounter new types of units, the way the story beats are laid out, where it's like, you thought it was this, but then it's this, so my whole strategy is different. Every single battle, even the filler battles that are really just there to push the story along or level you up or whatever, even the side quests, filler battles are like, yeah, this map was really cool. This is really interesting and made me think about my deployment differently. And then, speaking of nostalgia, this is the spiritual successor to Ogre Battle and Ogre Battle 64. It deeply draws from that well, and improves upon it in every single way. Even down to the music. Like and I've said this before, there are musical motifs and riffs that are like, oh my God, this is totally Ogre. This is like a totally Ogre Battle. I mean, like hearing the sounds of this game series I love in this totally different and new game. It's not totally different, but it's a totally different IP, but it is so clearly paying homage to those games. The characters are excellent. They are really fun and unique, and they're fun to mix and match and unlock. The big criticism that I have for this game is that the story could have been astounding. Like coming off of 13 Sentinels from Atlas or Vanillaware, I guess. Mm-hmm. Is it both, right?
Atlas published.
Yes, that game, it's funny, you know what? 13 Sentinels had a mind-blowing story, and the tactical combat was like, it was fine. It was okay. I had nothing to write home about. This game has, Unicorn Overlord has spectacular, fun, engaging tactical combat, but all the story beats and all the twists and turns are like, nah. We're the good guys and we're still good. Yep. And these bad guys they sure are bad, and we're going to get them. Like it's a bummer. Even while all the characters are really fun and interesting, and it's a shame. It's a shame because this could be like game of the decade for me if the story was a slam dunk. And it's just not, but it's fine and it's fun and it's fine. It's cheesy. It's cute. Mm-hmm. Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's and then I think the last two things I'll say is like, not only is the game mechanically wonderful, but like it just presentation and art and menus and interface experience vibe, whatever you want to call it, is like, it is polished to every pixel. Like everything about this game just oozes perfection and polish. The menus are snappy. It's just like, there's a lot of complex systems, but it's very simple to navigate them with a controller. Nary a frame was lost in the Switch version. Like, it just runs so well on Switch, which probably means it runs great on all the other platforms. It's a beautiful controller experience, even if I'm sure you could play it on PC, mouse and keyboard. Really, really well executed. And then this is not about the game itself, but these stories that came out after the game was released of like, I guess it's been at Vanillaware. I should be checking back, but like, yeah, we worked on this for 10 years, and if this is not a hit, we will be bankrupt. Like,
wow, I didn't know
like
that.
They took such a risk on this game, and the stakes could not have been higher for the studio. And I think it obviously was a critical success, and I think it sold very well.
Yeah.
But like, I don't think it's like, it's not gangbusters, it's not a game for everyone. It's not a Helldivers 2. It's not a,
right.
it's not
it's
Rocket League.
Appeal to a specific people. I Googled it, and I did see that they posted that it sold over 500,000 units worldwide a month after release, which is nothing to us, but I'm assuming that it's probably decent for what they wanted. I mean, although.
So what is it now, though? I'm curious now.
Let's find out.
Total sales 1 million as of 1 million as of September. So again,
I would call that a success. I mean, I think 1 million units is a success for most games that are not giant franchises, but I mean, that's, I think, probably pretty good
I'm gonna do
a strategy game.
Very quick math.
It took 3 years for 13 Sentinels to reach 1 million.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Unicorn Overlord sold 1 million by September. So it took them 1 million copies in 6 months.
Is it not on Steam? It's not on Steam.
Oh,
what the fuck? It's on Switch, PS4, PS5, and Xbox Series XS. Why is this not on Steam?
Seems like a weird one to not have on Steam.
Hey man, if you want to sell more copies, you should all be on Steam. How about that? Okay. It's a 60. All right, let's do some napkin math here. It's a $60 game. That's what I paid for it because I got it right away. But let's say it's currently on sale for $36. So let's call it $45 on average.
Mm-hmm.
So, you got 1 million, obviously. So let's say it's $45 million net, or not net, gross, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of money, but I guess, maybe it cost them 10 million to make, 8 million.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's obviously very successful, but at 1 million just seems low. It just seems. But what do I know? I don't know that much about the economics of game development. So yeah, but hopefully it has a long tail. As it goes on sale, as people become aware of it, or I'm sure it's on many wish lists waiting for a discount.
Well, let's for the sake of comparison, let's say that. Oh, I don't know if they're going to list actual sales numbers. I was curious. I was like, well, by unit, what are, like, for instance, let's just go best selling of all time, Minecraft, right? 300 million. Grand Theft Auto 5. So, okay. So 1 million is really small compared to all these, but these are of all time. So
those are crazy outliers who've been out for a decade.
So I'm just curious, like, for instance, and I'm not finding it, like, can you see a list of like best-selling games based on how many units they've sold? Maybe if you look at NPD, but like I'm looking right now and it's like I'm finding lists that just show the games, but not how many copies each one sold.
Well,
I wanted to compare. and be like,
I
well,
would
what's
say
the
sales, and we're not saying dollars, obviously. We're just saying sales. So if Wikipedia is saying Minecraft sold 300 million copies, that to me is like 300. The game has been purchased 300 million times across all devices,
right,
mobile, Switch, PC,
right,
etc. So that is units as far as I'm concerned. They're not cartridges. They are digital downloads and cartridges and discs and whatever else.
Wow, it's
Mario
so
Kart,
crazy.
Red Dead.
Some of these games, it's so crazy to me to see where they are. I'm looking at the big Wikipedia list. It's like Minecraft, 300 million. And then you're like, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, 33 million. And you're like,
right?
Whoa.
Think about fucking Stardew Valley just crossed 41 million. I just saw those headlines.
I saw that.
Stardew Valley has outsold both Legend of Zelda games.
That's
Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild.
Completely insane. Although I
That's
understand why
insane.
though. But think about this. Stardew Valley costs, I don't remember what it cost when it came out, but what, like $14.99, something like that?
Very true. Very true.
Breath of the Wild cost $60. So
yeah, you're $70 if you got Tears of the Kingdom. Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, if you think about that, you think about the fact that, Minecraft was also a very inexpensive game. So you think about that and you're like, it makes sense that more people could afford those games.
100%.
Right?
And it's on way more platforms. So if you do not own a Switch, you don't get Breath of the Wild. But if you own a phone, you get Stardew Valley. That's a huge factor here as well.
Everything in the very top sellers of all time is multi-platform except for 100%. Wii Sports and Mario Kart 8. That's it.
Yep. Fucking Duck Hunt has sold 28 million copies. I assume because it's a pack-in with...
Because it was a pack-in.
Yeah, with NES. But wow.
Stardew Valley, man. I just love thinking about how Concerned Ape is just a fucking millionaire. Like, ball on, dude. Ball on.
Like, let's say Stardew costs $10 on average. On mobile probably less, on consoles probably more. $41 million gross, and that doesn't even include merch, strategy guides,
all the merch, all of the, good for you, bro.
Unbelievable. Yeah, no, when you put it in this context, these are huge outliers. Some of which are surprising, and some of which are obviously like a duh, Minecraft and such.
Yeah.
But right, is 1 million copies? Is 1 million copies a lot? It all depends on the budget. So yeah, I'm trying to find the production budget of Unicorn Overlord, and I'm having trouble. But I am just keep seeing the headlines of Unicorn Overlord's devs spent every dollar they had on the game, and it's not the first time.
They must have really believed in it.
Yeah, and rightfully so. But like, it's many excellent games have come and gone and not really sold well. So even if the game was amazing, there's no guarantee it would sell. So
exactly, which is a crazy thought, but also just the way it is, ladies and gentlemen.
That is the show. That is the list. These lists. Do you agree? Will you fight us in the comments and the Discord? We want to know, what are your games or game of the year 2024.
Yep.
Please join our Discord community, because that's where it's all popping. That's where everyone's hanging out.
Also, a quick thank you to everyone that joined the community this December, and also to Cheshire for donating all the games that he did.
Absolutely.
Thanks to that, we were able to have a December unlike any we've ever had before in our community.
A December to remember, if you will.
A December to remember. It was so much fun to watch people win stuff every day. I loved having new people come in and not only like maybe win a game or two, but also like start chatting and like get to know some new people. Like, that was so nice for me. So yeah, I really, really had a great year. Very grateful for it. So thank you to everybody.
Couldn't agree more. We hope you will stick with us in 2025, and we hope you'll join our community and share what you're playing and your favorite games and your flops and the things that stink. We like talking about all of it. Food, animals, memes. We got it all. Come on in.
We got it all. Shit posting. We got it.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Happy New Year, and we will talk at you in 1 week's time.
Happy New Year.